Goeiemorgen mensen. It's a little bit chilly out today. We start winter in just a couple of days. June, July and August, and the beginning of June is already starting off with a nice low temperature of 4 degrees Celsius in Pretoria. So you Joburg blokes and colder regions are going to feel it. Anyway, yeah, grass is still looking nice and green. We've got good color. And unfortunately I've still got lots of shade, even with this tree now having bolded out completely, just about. It's still casting a nice big shadow across the entire yard, and it stays like that until about 12 o'clock, and then it kind of just changes a little bit. So I have about half the yard, this portion of the yard, in shade for the majority of the day at this time of year. Alright, and then just looking at it from the other side, you can tell things are still looking very, very green. I'm very happy with that. And then there, funny enough, in that drain dip, I've just got repeated seeding happening with that. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I filled it up so much with that last top dressing, or this last couple of top dressing sessions. It might be because of that. Because this, I mean, there's no other seeding that happens regularly. It comes and goes within a day. That hangs around for days at a time. So anyway, we are going to give this a mow, I think, just to clean it up. Still at 16 mils because we are not really getting much above that anymore. So I've got good density at 16. If we look at it from the top, that's what it looks like. So it's at now like 18, 19 mils. That's pretty good. So we'll give this a mow, and then we're going to apply some micronutrients to help it through winter. Look at that, he couldn't just hold on while I'm busy mowing, little bugger. Alright, fun mow. It's very windy, so I'm going to try not to talk too much. One thing that I have noticed now with this mow again at 16 mils is that I am starting to see where I've left the interval between mowing a little bit too long. And what's happening is the Kikuyu is starting to push runners upwards, trying to find the sun, and I'm nipping all those runners sort of dead on. So I'm giving them a bit of a, like what you would call a heading cut, and that's not good because you see the thickness of that runner's stalk facing upwards, and it's like little white dots all over the place. I noticed that last time as well, and this time again. And what that means is that it's going to give you a little bit of a lesser of a green look, particularly through camera, not so much up front unless you're standing, in person, unless you're standing above it, but I can see it with the naked eye over there. Now, the only way to solve that is by raising the height of cut, or if what I assume by them happening in the first place, it means the grass is trying to push a little bit of growth. That means that I think that I can take the chance of keeping the mower at the same height of cut, and maybe the grass will do what it normally does in the growing season and train itself to grow beneath that point at where it's being attacked. So I'll leave it at this height of cut for a few more mows. If I see that I'm sustaining damage, then I'll raise the height of cut. But I assume that after I put down these micronutrients now, the grass is not going to want to grow big. It's going to want to just tighten back up and complete itself, and that means grow under that height of cut. So we'll be able to test that theory in a couple of weeks. Let me go get that muti quick. Alright, so here we have Nutrimix Complete from Compo-Expert once again. It's a highly soluble micronutrient fertilizer. So soluble, in fact, that if you take it out of its original packaging, you better put it in a container like I have here to keep it sealed, because any moisture will see that this starts to dissolve and do its thing. So keep it dry. So it is exactly as it sounds. It is a micronutrient fertilizer, meaning that these micronutrients that you see right here, iron, manganese, zinc, copper, and molybdenum, are all what's going to be pushed right now. It does also contain a little bit of nitrogen, sulfur, and magnesium, just to help sort of get things going. It's going to obviously improve some green as well, but in such a small quantity that it's not really going to push much growth. This is about, it's effectively going to show you a lot of green, but it's about strengthening the plant when the intention is not to push growth. So some of you already may know what micronutrients are. For those of you who don't, they are the group or the range of nutrients that most plants need the least of. What they do for the plant is help it perform all of its functions fully or to an optimal extent, meaning that you may need less of the macro and secondary macronutrients over time. So macros, if you weren't sure, are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Those are normally the three numbers that you see on the front of the bag. Secondary macros are going to be calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and carbon. And then obviously these micros fall in then below that, and they're needed in the highest quantities in the macros, a little bit less quantities in the secondary macros, and then the micros in the smallest quantities. So what we'll effectively see our grass do after applying micronutrients is generally green up, become a little bit stronger, able to resist turf grass diseases better, and handle traffic and wear and tear a lot better as well. So going into winter, that is where the grass is going to be most frail. So number one for me is that I wanted to promote the strength of the plant, and secondly I want better color without promoting growth. Remember, pushing too much growth at this stage of the year may create a series of other issues for you. So this is the best way to keep color and a strong plant for as long as possible. Alright, so this is supposed to be a foliar application, 100 grams of product and 5 liters of water over 100 square meters. You leave it on the plant for a little while, an hour or 2 hours depending on the temperature outside. Remember, it mustn't be piping hot with product sitting on the leaf. Any product, no matter what other people tell you, don't take that chance. Be safe. So if you apply it nice and early in the morning, you can leave it on there for a good few hours before you turn on irrigation. If you apply it late afternoon or evening, you can leave it until the next morning when your irrigation system comes on, and then rinse off the leaf essentially. But some of the product needs to be taken up by the leaf. Now unfortunately, my blue sprayer over here, the single worst lawn care expense I've ever made, or lawn care purchase. This thing is horrible. It's been a pain in the rectum since day one. This guy seizes often, and now what's happened is the handle has broken off. So that's the pump handle. So I'm once again going to be the lazy guy and use my hose end sprayer, which means that I'll be putting it down with a higher volume of water. What I'm going to do to counter that is attempt to spray it as evenly as possible over the surface of the leaf so that it can sit on the leaf for a little while, and then later on I'll water it in, because it is now almost the middle of the day in my yard. And there's that shadow that I was talking about. It's now 11:30, and look at that shadow. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, there we go. Easy peasy. Actually already looks like it's starting to take some effect, which is possibly true because the ingredients in there can react immediately. So I'm going to do this about 3 times a year, and that's that. Just hinting in a little bit of extra micronutrient value in bigger quantities like this. Just a couple of times a year is sufficient to keep things ticking along quite nicely, especially if you're one of the guys who have a pH that's slightly high, then your micronutrients are going to be a little bit less available. Now I regularly, semi-regularly, I'd like to say regularly, but I don't even think I do it once a month. That's to apply TerraPlus Solube NK, but I didn't want that much nitrogen going down now, so Nutrimix Complete is the right stuff. Alright, and for those of you who stay to the very end, I have put up a lawn care calendar on my website, just a basic one for Kikuyu in particular. I'm going to tweak another one for Bermuda grasses and the other warm season grasses over time. It is the bare essentials that you should be doing to your lawn, your Kikuyu lawn in the southern hemisphere per month. So I've given you a guideline as to what fertilizers to put down, their quantities, and in particular when it comes to the fertilizers and their quantities, you should stick to that stuff and their quantities, because I know what went into those products, into the manufacturing of those products, so I know what the outcome should be based on those values. So if you go and substitute it with something else like a nitrogen for nitrogen but of a different product, you may end up with issues. So stick to that as the bare minimum. Anyway, I'm going to tweak this over time and make it better and better as we progress. Now, it is what I have done in my yard to a large extent over the last year, and it is what I'm going to be following moving forward Again, I might tweak things as we go along, and I'll put them into the videos if I do. And if I have a little change, you'll just be able to find it again on the website. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, share this with your buddies. If you've got any questions and queries, you jump onto backyardbushveld.co.za and you send me an email or drop it in the comments. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.